I can still hear her voice as if it happened just a moment ago. She stood in the middle of our living room, arms crossed, eyes cold, and said the words I never thought I'd hear from the woman I married. Intimacy is over between us. It wasn't just the words, it was the finality in her tone. There was no softness, no hesitation, no trace of the woman who once looked at me like I was her entire world. She didn't even flinch as she declared it, almost like she had rehearsed it in her head 1,000 times before finally letting it out. I froze. For years, I had felt her drifting away, her touch becoming colder, her smile less frequent, her presence more like a roommate than a wife. But I kept holding on, convincing myself it was stress, or work, or just a phase every couple went through. Deep down though, I knew the truth. She wasn't interested anymore. And now, with that single sentence, she had carved the final scar across my heart. I wanted to argue, to ask her why, to remind her of the vows we made, the promises whispered in the dark when love still felt real. But no words came out. My throat tightened, and all I managed to do was nod slightly, as if I had accepted her verdict. She didn't comfort me, didn't backtrack, didn't even soften her expression. Instead, she turned away and picked up her phone, scrolling through messages like nothing had happened. To her, it was just another evening. To me, it was the end of everything I thought we were. That night, I lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling like a ghost in my own home. I thought the story of us had ended. What I didn't know was that mine was just beginning. The next morning, I went through the motions like always, coffee, quick shower, off to work, but something inside me had shifted. Her words echoed in my mind. Not like a wound anymore, but like a strange kind of release. If intimacy was truly over between us, then so was the endless waiting. The late nights sitting alone, hoping she'd notice me. The cold silences at the dinner table. The way she'd roll her eyes whenever I tried to reach for her hand. I realized I'd been clinging to a version of her that no longer existed. At work, my colleagues noticed I was quieter than usual. One of them, Anna, stopped by my desk around noon. She wasn't just a coworker. She had always been kind, someone who actually listened. "Rough day?" she asked gently. I wanted to lie, to brush it off like I always did, but for some reason, the walls I had built around my pain started to crack. I told her simply, "My wife told me last night that intimacy is over between us." She didn't laugh. She didn't look at me with pity. She just nodded, her eyes filled with the kind of understanding I hadn't felt in years. "I'm sorry," she said. "You don't deserve that." Those 4 words hit harder than anything my wife had said in months. You don't deserve that. Simple, yet powerful. It was the first time in a long time someone reminded me I was worthy of love, of care, of respect. We talked for a while, about work, about music, even about the coffee shop near the office we both liked. For the first time in ages, I felt seen. Not invisible, not dismissed. Just seen. When I got home that evening, I expected the usual coldness from my wife. But something was different. She looked up at me with suspicion, almost like she had sensed the shift inside me. She narrowed her eyes, studying me as if I'd walked in with a secret written across my face. "What's with you?" she asked, her tone sharp, almost defensive. Normally, I would have scrambled to reassure her, explained where I'd been, what I'd done, maybe even begged for a scrap of kindness. But not this time. I simply shrugged, calm in a way I hadn't felt in years. "Just had a good day," I replied. The truth was, it had been a good day. Not because I did anything dramatic, not because I had moved on in some reckless way, but because I finally realized my value wasn't tied to her approval. That conversation with Anna reminded me I was still capable of being cared for, still capable of connection, still human. My wife's face tightened. She wasn't used to this version of me. The one who didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't crumble at her dismissiveness. "Oh," she muttered, her eyes flicking away. But I could see it. The discomfort, the unease. Later that evening, she watched me from across the living room as I scrolled through my phone, smiling faintly at a funny message from Anna about the world's worst office coffee machine. I wasn't hiding anything. I didn't have to. But my wife noticed. She saw that I was no longer waiting for her to throw me a bone of affection. And that's when it hit her. The declaration she thought would keep me small. Intimacy is over between us, had done the opposite. It had freed me. She had closed one door, but I had already found another open window. For the first time in years, I wasn't terrified of being unwanted. I had already begun moving on. Not with betrayal, not with revenge, but with the quiet dignity of a man who finally remembered his worth. And she saw it. Oh, she saw it.